Today I'm going to be taking a look at The Big Bang Theory Season 2, Episode 17, The Terminator Decoupling. This episode gets this title because it features the actress Summer Glau, who played the Terminator in Terminator the Sarah Connor Chronicles, and they bump into her aboard a train, which is where we get the decoupling part as they're heading on a trip to San Francisco. This episode is notably the first episode that has a celebrity appearance where they are playing themselves, not a character in the show. This episode starts off with Raj, Howard, Leonard, and Sheldon in the apartment, and as part of getting ready to go on their trip, Howard is attempting to upgrade Sheldon's TiVo to upgrade the hard drive to have more space so that he doesn't have to delete items off it ahead of time. Sheldon is nervous about voiding the warranty, but when he realizes he would have to delete Season 1 of Battlestar Galactica, he quickly rips off the warranty sticker and tells Howard to proceed. Penny comes in and they tell her about their conference that they're going to. She's unimpressed because she doesn't know who the speakers are, and they reveal that they're going to be traveling there by train, which is a great joy to Sheldon.
We're taking the train.
And dismay to everybody else, because the train takes longer and is more expensive. This is also, I think, the first episode in which Sheldon references his love for trains, which is a recurring theme for him going forward. The next thing we see is Sheldon saying he's simplifying his task of packing, but it's really more complicated. He is attaching RFID tags to all of his clothing so that he can cross-reference it in his computer to decide what to bring with him on a trip based on the location and various other criteria. He's caught up in this activity, so he declines the invitation to go with the others and make fun of the people who work at the Apple Genius bar. Next, as they board the train, they begin looking for a seat, and Sheldon quickly tells them they're doing it wrong, but he has a good point there, because on one side he says they'll be treated to panoramic ocean views, on the other side they would just see miles and miles of Jiffy Lubes and Costco's. He also corrects them about the location of where they should seat, which is one table forward from where they were going to, and continues to bore everybody with train talk. After this, when the train's about to leave, they notice that Summer Glau has boarded and is sitting a few seats away from them. They're all familiar with her from various movies and TV shows, notably for the purposes of this episode, Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Howard suddenly changes his disposition about the train, thinking that he now has a chance to be with the Terminator, and Raj funnily notes that he has a better chance of getting with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Please, when it comes to Terminators, you've got a better shot of scoring with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Sheldon brings up a pretty good point, and that's that isn't Howard currently in a relationship with Leslie Winkle? To which Howard pretty much just says that this is Summer Glau, so he's going to go for it anyway. Howard and Raj get into a little skirmish over who's going to get to try to hit on her first. Leonard tries to get involved, but then decides to bow out, realizing that he already has a pretty blonde at home that he can't get to go out with him anyway. Howard starts trying to think of a pickup line, and Raj heads off to the bar car to get some alcohol so that he'll be able to talk to her at all. Howard makes a brief attempt to walk over, but gets scared and ends up talking to some nuns instead. It's at this point that Sheldon realizes he forgot his flash drive back in his desk in the apartment. This flash drive contained a paper that he wanted to give to keynote speaker George Smoot, because it's brilliant and he wanted to see his face light up when he read it. Sheldon wants to turn around and go back to get the flash drive, which Leonard doesn't think is a good idea, because that would just be a huge delay and a waste of everybody's time. Leonard mentions that he could just call Penny, ask her to go get the flash drive, and email him the paper. But Sheldon is opposed to this plan because that would require Penny to go into his room, and nobody goes into his room. So as Leonard notes, Sheldon is caught between a rock and a crazy place. Howard is still trying to work up the courage to talk to Summer. He's repeating a pickup line that he's been working on. He decides to go with, "It's hot in here, must be summer." He's saying it over and over again, and Raj walks by, now fueled up by alcohol, hears it and steals it and goes and talks to Summer ahead of him.
Here must be summer. It's hot in here, must be summer.
Sheldon decides to go ahead with the plan of calling Penny. She's on the other line telling someone about a play she's preparing for, a presentation of Anne Frank above a bowling alley. So she puts Sheldon on hold for a moment. He's still going on with his conversation. When she comes back, he's already up to step 4. He starts again, but he's having a very frustrating time, for himself especially, because he's trying to get Penny to do something immediately and help him without actually asking for help, as Leonard notes. And Penny is being kind of nonchalant about it because it's not a real emergency. Back with Summer and Raj, he actually seems to be doing pretty well talking to her. He's telling her about what he knows from astrophysics a little bit, pointing out stars and planets in the sky. He almost has a fumble by noting that he thought she was really in space when they filmed Firefly. She asked him if he really believed that. He said no, he's not one of the hopeless nerds, but he points out that Howard is, as he asks Howard to get him another beer. When Howard goes back to the table, Leonard takes note that this beer was non-alcoholic, but it still seems to be having some sort of placebo effect on Raj, which is interesting to note that it's not actually alcohol that unlocks his ability to talk to women. It can also merely be the suggestion of alcohol, which makes sense because Raj's condition is psychological and not sort of physical condition treated by alcohol. Sheldon is still trying to work with Penny to find the item he needs in his room and not having much luck. He's finding the experience very frustrating. Howard decides to show Raj the bottle that is non-alcoholic beer. As soon as Raj sees this, he can no longer speak and has to walk away.
Yes? Look. What am I looking at? You tell me. Non-alcoholic beer, yeah.
leading Howard to sit down to talk to Summer and give a creepy pickup line. Much worse than his first one. This time he goes with, "I'm the small package that good things come in." And he has found a box in Sheldon's room, although it's the wrong box. It's a box filled with letters from Sheldon's Meemaw. Sheldon gets angry and tells Penny to put that box away immediately. Penny starts reading a letter and learns that Sheldon's grandmother calls him Moon Pie. This leads Sheldon into all the more frustration, but Penny continues to poke jokes and call Sheldon Moon Pie as soon as she gets back on the phone with him after Leonard tried to intercede.
What up, Moon Pie?
Howard has now gotten uncomfortably close to Summer, moving to her side of the booth, and is telling a very creepy story about a dream with her. Howard is going about this in a very creepy way, and Summer does a great job of just looking tortured in this scene. Penny has finally found the correct box, and Sheldon begins to tell her that it's a puzzle box and give her precise movements to make it open it. She asks if it's valuable. He says no, it's a trinket from the internet, so Penny skips those steps and just stomps the box to break it and get the flash drive out. Howard is still torturing Summer, and he finally asks if there's any way that she'd go out with him on a date. She says no, so he says he'll leave her in peace, to which she's very grateful until he comes back saying he wants a picture with her. She agrees and takes the picture, and then he goes a little too far, asking if he could take a picture where it looks like they're making out, and she breaks his phone. Sheldon is still trying to give Penny instructions now how to put the USB in the computer, and she is still torturing Sheldon to get information, and he reveals that the reason his Meemaw calls him Moon Pie is that he's nummy and she could just eat him all up. Penny is really enjoying this and really taking advantage of the situation that Sheldon needs something, and she can take advantage and tease him all she wants. Leonard decides to take a shot to go over and talk to Summer, but as soon as he starts trying to talk to her, they announce that they are stopping at Santa Barbara. She says this is her stop, grabs her stuff, and jumps up to get out of there. Poor Leonard looks like he just waited too long. Not that it would have likely worked out for you any better. And the episode ends with them arriving in San Francisco. They are at the conference, and Sheldon is walking with George Smoot, talking to him about his paper. It is interesting to note here that in addition to a celebrity appearance in this episode, we also get a acclaimed scientist appearance. We get the real George Smoot appearing in this episode. He is a Nobel laureate who won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2006. Sheldon tries to talk to him about collaborating, to which he's not interested, and even asks Sheldon if he's on crack.
With all due respect, Dr. Cooper, are you on crack?
And that is where we end this episode. To recap, this episode does have a few interesting points. One, we learn of Sheldon's fascination with trains, and it is an extreme fascination, and it becomes a recurring theme that we will see many more times throughout the remainder of the show. The other key takeaway I look at this episode is about Raj. Raj has this condition where he cannot talk to women. He gets very stunned into silence when he's on a one-on-one basis with a woman. And as we learned in previous episodes, alcohol can subdue this effect. And once he has alcohol in his system, he's able to talk to women. But in this episode, we also learned that the placebo effect also helps. And the simple fact that he thought he was drinking alcohol made him able to talk to Summer. Also interesting to note that Raj was having the most success out of any of them talking to Summer before he realized he wasn't drinking and had to go away. Howard just tortured her with creepiness, and Leonard didn't really even get a shot. Penny had fun teasing and torturing Sheldon in this episode by phone, but was able to help him in the end. All in all, this is a fun episode. We get a celebrity appearance, we get a famous scientist appearance, and we get a lot of fun. I score this episode at a very high 9 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts on The Big Bang Theory Season 2 Episode 17, The Terminator Decoupling, in the comment section. Please be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and keep an eye out for the next video coming soon.